My niece Toni is 21 today. So Toni, as you know, for the past 21 years I've been collecting stories and evidence that I was expecting to deliver to you in your 21st birthday party speech. You chickened out on me and decided not to have a party, and so I've done the only thing that a caring and sharing auntie could do. I've embraced technology, and now I'll bring this video to you via YouTube and Facebook, and nobody has to miss out. Yay! So, Toni's been known by a few names, but first of all on her birth certificate it says Toni Elise Roberts. That eventually became Toni Macaroni. The Toni got dropped, that became Macaroni. Macaroni became Max. Max became Maxie, and that's what she's known by today. But there was also another name that she was known by to one of her granddad's friends, Ninky, who lives in the UK. And it was after a visit to his house that he said he called her Tornado Toni, because she swept through like a whirlwind, left a trail of destruction, and you certainly knew where she'd been. Okay, some things that you may or may not know about Toni. She was my first niece and made me an auntie at the age of 19, and I was actually there in the birth suite when she was born, so it was a really special moment for me. Toni was really quite sporty as a youngster up till probably the beginning of her teens, and she played basketball, indoor soccer and cricket, and at around the age of 11 or 12 she decided to announce to the world via video that she played basketball for a living. Yes, for a living. Toni, from the age of 6 to say 12, spent many social occasions like this. Thankfully she outgrew that, but I have plenty of photographic evidence that it actually existed. Toni doesn't like mushrooms, but she doesn't mind indulging in the odd champignon, and especially if it's in my beef stroganoff. And actually she's never forgiven me to this day since she found out that they're actually mushrooms. Last year when we went on a South Pacific cruise, I found out that Toni has a unique gift in being able to communicate with dolphins, and she does it especially well after a few drinks. Some stories from Toni's childhood. Toni really hated shopping as a toddler, and she would do absolutely everything that she could to get out of it. And obviously, being a toddler's age, the most successful thing that she would do is fall asleep immediately upon entering the car on the way to the shopping centre, so that we would turn around and say, oh, you know, she's sleeping, let's not disturb her, we'll do it some other time. But this particular time it was Christmas shopping and it had to be done, and of course she promptly fell asleep in the car. And as we arrived into the parking spot, I leaned over gently and I said, Toni, Santa's coming. And she woke up, she's where? And then she realised we're at the shopping centre, and she says, I hate you, JD Jane. Still makes me laugh to this day. Toni loved bath time when she was younger, and she especially loved it if it was at Nan and Grandad's house, because they had this super spaceship style all-in-one shower unit where the doors closed and it stayed warm for hours and hours and hours. And Toni could play in there for hours and hours and hours, but we had other things to do, so eventually we would sort of wander off and do our own thing and you know, do the family dinner thing. And when Toni had enough of being there playing and not having any company, she would sing a little song to get our attention, to let us know that she was ready for us to come and get her. It was always the same song, and it went something like this. All by myself, don't wanna be all by myself, don't wanna be all by myself, don't wanna be all by myself. And it was pretty effective. We would get her in a hurry before the neighbours would come and get her. Toni, when she was, I don't know, maybe whatever age you're learning to read, first grade, second grade, anyway, she was learning about phonetics and sounding things out. Happened to be school holidays, and my housemate Kirsty was babysitting her in the school holidays while Elaine was at work. And as they crossed the road to Eastland Shopping Centre, Toni stopped abruptly and said, "Kirsty, what's a rapist? Kirsty was in shock and, oh my God, what the hell do I say to this? But trying to just keep it simple, she said, yeah, it's a very bad person. Toni looked a little perplexed, couldn't really understand that, and as Kirsty was about to ask her what prompted her to ask the question, Toni points to a sign and says, well, Kirsty, why would he be a beauty then? And as Kirsty looks up to the sign that Toni's pointing to, she's pointing to a sign that says beauty therapist. But as she's learning to read, she's read it as Beauty the Rapist. I can't tell you how relieved Kirsty was that it was the therapist, and she happily explained what a beauty therapist was. Toni decided that she had a career cut out for herself quite young. One day she was asleep on the couch with her mum on a Saturday afternoon, just having a cruisy one, and she was quite young, maybe 5 or 6, and she woke up before her mum and she thought to herself, what can I do now? So she quietly got herself out from under the blanket where she was snuggled up with her mum, looked around, noticed the scissors were way up high on the shelf where she mustn't reach them. She got the stool. She carried the stool over to the shelf. She climbs up on the stool. She gets those scissors down from way up high where she couldn't normally reach them. Proceeds to get down, give herself a bit of a haircut, chop, chop, chop. Then she gets the stool, puts it back up against the shelf, puts the scissors way back up high where she can't reach them, puts the stool away, sweeps up the hair and puts it in the bin. And then she goes back over to where her mum is on the couch, and she climbs under the blanket and she goes back to sleep again. So maybe 20 minutes or so later, my sister Elaine wakes up and thinks, oh, Toni's having a really good sleep, I won't disturb her, I'll just quietly creep off to the kitchen and make myself a cup of tea. So there she is, busily making herself a cup of tea, and as she goes to throw the tea bag in the bin, what do you think she sees? But all this hair. First of all, there's this panic, and then she notices that the hair is not her colour, but she's still checking her head just in case. So then she's like, oh my God, I'm going to kill that girl. And she walks over and she pulls the blanket up off Toni, but once she saw Toni's haircut, she decided that that was punishment enough. And I can tell you that Toni has never cut her own hair like that again since. It looked lovely. There were some bald patches out front. Fabulous. In 1997, our whole family went on a trip to London to see the relatives. It's something we talked about forever and ever because we lived there when we were younger. And anyway, we finally did it in 1997. So as we're riding around on the top of the double-decker bus, Toni, whose favourite game at this point in time is I Spy, says, I spy with my little eye something beginning with E. So we're guessing and guessing, and she's no, 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 and we're still guessing. And she says, no, no, you can't guess it, you can't guess it. Do you give up? Do you give up? So eventually we say, okay, we give up. She says, engine. I said, we're in the top of the bus, you can't see that. And she said, no, but I can hear it. I have to say, on that particular trip in 1997, Toni was being, well, a little bit of a challenge, I suppose is a nice way to say it. And after many days of this, and there being 10 extra people in my nan's house and it being a little bit overcrowded, we'd all got a bit sick of it. So I pulled Toni aside one morning and I said to her, right, Toni, I would like you to tell me 5 ways that you're going to improve your behaviour so that we can all enjoy our holiday. And this is what she came up with, and then I helped her to write it, but these were her exact words that came out her mouth. So Toni's rules were: 1, obey the rules that adults say. 2, I must not lie. 3, I must ask first. 4, I will treat people nicely. 5, I will not wreck other people's things. So it seemed that she did know what it was that she was supposed to be doing. She just didn't think it was fun, so didn't bother. So again, at the age of 12, she revisited these same rules, and she wrote them again now on another piece of paper at this time. And so I'd have to say 9 years on, I think that she is really getting there. Yeah, not bad, hey, 21, but she's really getting there. So Maxie, there's maybe only a couple more things to say and one more thing to do. First thing is to do, here's to Toni. Happy 21st, mate. I'm really, really proud of you. I'm really, really glad you made it. I also like to say to your mum, there's been a few hiccups along the way, but I think you've done a really super job, Loney. I've got something to give to you, Toni. 1997 version of the rules. 2004 version of the rules. They're still pretty good rules to live by, so I present them to you now. Happy 21st, mate. Hope you have a great day. Love you always, Janie Jane.